The first silence always arrives, like weather, sudden, inexplicable. A pressure change you can't see but feel in your bones. One day, the air between you is ordinary. The next, it has the chill of a room no one has slept in for years. Your phone glows with nothing. Your mind composes explanations that unravel by morning. He must be busy. He must be tired. He must have forgotten. You keep reshaping the story until even the lie begins to bruise. Somewhere a quiet part of you asks the question that both saves and stings: what if this silence isn't about you at all? I remember the first week I learned how heavy an unanswered message could be. It was a small thing, a line of text sent across a dark evening, the kind of sentence that wants nothing grand in return, only acknowledgement that it has arrived, that it matters. The hours turned, and nothing came back. No tiny orbiting dots to tell me a response was forming, no soft chime, no ordinary reassurance that connection, like a good road, continues past the next bend. I lay awake and tried on different versions of myself. Too much, not enough, naive, demanding, like clothes that don't fit but still smell faintly of you. It is astonishing how swiftly a woman can make herself the problem when the room goes quiet. And yet beneath that self-interrogation, another voice, slower and older, began to speak. It sounded like stones at low tide, like a door at the deep end of the house, opening to a place where no one is watching. It said, "A person's behavior is a confession not of your worth, but of their weather. When a man turns away, he may be protecting something soft he does not dare name. He may be terrified of the mirror you hold up to him without meaning to. He may be standing in the crowded hallway of his own past, hearing footsteps he cannot place. His silence might be less a verdict than an X-ray, a negative image where the fracture becomes visible, or the shadow reveals what his pride would not. There is a story we are taught early, sometimes without words. If you are pleasing, you will be kept. If you prove yourself indispensable, you will be adored. So we perform. We stay late in the theater of his attention, sweeping the aisles, polishing the stage, rehearsing the lines that have always worked. But love is not a job, and devotion measured like wages will always leave you underpaid. The more you try to earn what cannot be earned, the more you teach your own heart to accept scarcity as a natural climate. You forget that attention is a gift, not a tax, and that leaving yourself is a greater abandonment than anyone could offer you. That difficult night, I went walking under a sky so clear it hurt to look at. The moon hung like a coin someone tossed up and forgot to catch. In that silver quiet, I remembered dreams I had as a girl, dreams of staircases that never ended, of locked rooms that were always the room I was already in. The psyche speaks in symbols, they say, and perhaps the locked room was not a prison, but a promise. Everything you need waits inside, and everything that frightens you does too. A man's withdrawal can feel like exile, but sometimes exile is where we learn the grammar of our own breath, the small syllables of self-respect, the long vowels of solitude that become a hymn. So I went home, lit a candle on the kitchen table, and wrote a sentence on the back of an old receipt: "I will not beg for what is mine to give." It was a vow and also a map. If he turned toward me one day, I would meet him from fullness, not famine. If he did not, I would still be whole. That is the secret the silence dared me to discover, that value is not negotiated in the marketplace of someone else's moods. It is rooted like a tree that knows winter intimately and does not confuse it with death. There comes a moment after the ache softens and the noise in your mind grows tired, when you begin to see the silence for what it truly is: not punishment, but information. It tells you what a man cannot yet tell himself. It exposes the wound beneath his composure, the fear of being seen too clearly. Some men, when faced with intimacy, feel as though they are standing at the edge of an abyss. The closer you get, the louder their own depths echo back. They step away, not because you are too much, but because you remind them of what they have buried. Carl Jung wrote that what we reject in others is a mirror of what we reject in ourselves. To ignore is in a way to flee one's own reflection. When a man turns cold, it may not be cruelty, but avoidance, an unconscious act of self-preservation. He does not want to confront the version of himself that your presence evokes. Perhaps you represent tenderness he cannot admit he needs. Perhaps your confidence unsettles the part of him that doubts his worth. In any case, his distance is rarely about you. It is about the landscape inside him, the uncharted country where his insecurities whisper louder than his desire to connect. Still, knowing this doesn't erase the sting. The heart, even when it understands, still bleeds. There are nights when you replay every word, every pause, every smile that felt like a promise. You scroll through photographs as if they were maps that could lead you back to the moment before the silence began. But what you are really searching for is not him, it's the certainty you lost. That fragile belief that love once offered will always be returned. The world feels unsafe without it. Yet the deeper truth is that love has never guaranteed permanence. It has only ever promised presence. And sometimes presence takes the shape of leaving, so we can learn the difference between holding on and being held hostage by our own hope. There is a strange freedom in realizing that his indifference doesn't define your beauty, your worth, or your destiny. It defines his limitations. The more he retreats, the more the universe seems to whisper, "This is not rejection, it's revelation." Each unanswered message, each unreturned glance becomes a mirror angled toward your own shadow, the part of you that believes love must be earned through endurance. You begin to see how much energy you have spent trying to interpret someone else's confusion instead of tending to your own clarity. One afternoon, while walking through a crowded market, I caught my reflection in a shop window. For a moment, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked softer, somehow lighter, as if the absence had peeled away something false. I realized I was no longer waiting for him to call. I was waiting for myself to return. The mind clings to what is familiar even when it hurts. But the soul has its own gravity. It pulls us toward wholeness even when it means breaking the spell of an illusion. Jung said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. I thought of that often. Maybe the man who ignores is not just fleeing you, he's enacting a pattern older than either of you, a drama written by fear and repetition. And maybe your task isn't to decode his silence, but to transform your own response to it. Because when you stop chasing, when you stop performing worthiness, something shifts. You begin to feel a new kind of quiet, the kind that nourishes rather than empties you. That's when you start to understand his withdrawal was never meant to define you. It was meant to awaken you. The silence you once feared becomes the soil in which your own strength begins to grow. There is a certain alchemy in absence. What once felt like deprivation begins to reveal itself as space, the kind of space that life needs to breathe, that the soul needs to listen. When you stop filling the silence with theories and apologies, something remarkable begins to happen. You start hearing your own voice again, not the anxious one that pleads to be understood, but the deeper one, the one that speaks slowly, honestly from beneath the noise of need. That voice doesn't ask, "Why doesn't he want me?" It asks instead, "Why did I forget myself trying to be wanted?" At first, that question burns, because to answer it is to admit how often you've confused attention with affection, pursuit with passion, noise with love. We are raised in a world that tells us our value is proven through another's gaze, that being chosen is the ultimate validation of being enough. But Jung said that what we seek outside ourselves is often what we've exiled within. So when a man ignores you, it may not be his silence you're confronting, but your own, the silence inside that has long gone unheard. You start to realize that what you wanted from him was never really him. It was a reflection of the part of you that wanted to feel safe, seen, cherished. The part that believed love could repair the fractures left by old absences, those earlier silences that taught you to equate being overlooked with being unworthy. The transformation begins not when he returns, but when you stop waiting. When your energy, once braided so tightly around his approval, starts to unravel back into your own hands. You notice the world again, the way morning light spills across the kitchen counter, how laughter sounds different when it's not trying to impress anyone, how solitude can taste like peace when it's chosen rather than imposed. The silence that once wounded you becomes a threshold. Beyond it lies the woman you were before you learned to shrink yourself to fit someone else's uncertainty. Sometimes healing feels like rebellion. You no longer answer his sporadic messages with eagerness. You no longer track his digital breadcrumbs like omens. You begin to see how many small rituals of self-betrayal you performed in the name of love, checking if he viewed your story dressing a certain way, measuring your joy by the flicker of his attention. But the moment you reclaim your time, your focus, your breath, the dynamic begins to reverse. His indifference, once a weapon, turns against him. You are no longer the predictable presence he took for granted. Your absence becomes his mirror, and in it, he confronts the fragility of the control he once believed he had. Men, too, live inside the architecture of their illusions. Many have been taught that power comes from detachment, that emotion equals weakness, that to feel deeply is to lose control. So when they sense genuine intimacy, when they encounter a woman whose presence calls forth their hidden self, they recoil, mistaking vulnerability for danger. But sooner or later, the psyche seeks balance. What they repress begins to rise. The very silence that once protected them begins to suffocate. They start noticing the void, your laughter missing from the room, your voice absent from their nights. Absence has its own gravity, and it pulls harder the longer it's denied. And yet by the time he feels the weight of what he's lost, you've already crossed into another kind of peace. You've begun to understand that true power isn't about making him chase or regret. It's about no longer needing either. Power is presence, the quiet certainty of knowing you are complete, even when no one is watching. That realization changes everything. The silence no longer hurts. It becomes sacred. It becomes yours. There comes a day when you wake up and the ache has turned into clarity. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or any grand revelation, just a stillness that feels earned, like the air after a long rain. You make coffee, open the window, and the world looks different, though nothing outside has changed. The difference is that you have. The silence that once echoed like loss has become a quiet companion, one that no longer asks for explanations or apologies. You start to see how every unanswered message, every retreat, every moment of neglect was never truly about rejection. It was redirection, the universe guiding you back to yourself. You begin to notice that peace has its own texture. It doesn't glitter like passion or demand like longing. It hums steady and unassuming. It lives in small choices, not checking your phone every hour, not rehearsing what you'd say if he returned, not waiting for validation disguised as attention. It lives in the steady rhythm of self-respect and how you speak to yourself and what you now refuse to chase. Jung said that the human psyche seeks balance, and you feel that truth in your bones. Every time you refuse to honor yourself for the sake of being loved, you tip the scale away from your own center. Now, slowly, you are bringing it back. And something unexpected happens when you stop orbiting someone else's gravity. Your energy changes. It's not a performance, it's an evolution. You start meeting your own gaze in the mirror without flinching. You start remembering what it feels like to be whole without anyone's permission. Friends notice, strangers notice. Even he, the man who once ignored you, notices. He reappears like a ghost, testing the door of a house he no longer owns. A comment here, a message there, small gestures meant to confirm that his reflection still exists in your eyes. But the reflection is gone. He doesn't realize that what he's reaching for is not you, but the version of himself that felt powerful when you were uncertain. His silence once made you question your worth. Now it only reveals his own unrest. You see through the mask the arrogance that was always just armor, the detachment that was really fear. For the first time, you don't want to fix it. You don't want to decode to rescue, to earn. You simply observe compassion without attachment, because the lesson was never about making him value you. It was about valuing yourself so deeply that his recognition no longer defines your peace. There's a peculiar strength in no longer needing closure. You understand that some stories don't end with reconciliation, they end with realization. His weakness, hidden beneath the indifference, was never your burden to carry. You were meant to see it, not solve it. And once you truly see, the compulsion to chase disappears. You stop trying to fill the silence with noise because you've discovered something far more profound. The silence is not empty. It's full of you. And this is where the transformation completes its circle. The man who once ignored you may still wander through his own shadows, learning his lessons in his own time. But you have stepped out of the pattern. You have become the woman who no longer waits at closed doors. You've learned that attention is not love and love is not control. You've learned that the heart, when healed, doesn't harden, it softens into wisdom. Now, when you think of him, there is no bitterness left, only a quiet understanding. He didn't take anything from you. He simply revealed where you had forgotten your own power. His silence was the mirror that helped you find your voice again. And in that voice lives the kind of freedom no absence can ever steal. In the end, it's never really about the man who ignored you. It's about the woman who learned to stop ignoring herself. Somewhere between the ache of unanswered questions and the calm that follows acceptance, you realize that what you mistook for heartbreak was actually initiation, the slow, sacred unraveling that forces you to meet your own soul. Because every time you waited for his message, you were really waiting for permission to matter. Every time you replayed his silence, you were trying to make sense of your reflection in someone else's fractured mirror. But now, standing here, you see the truth with a clarity that doesn't need to shout. Your worth was never up for negotiation. You begin to understand what Jung meant when he said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. His silence had been your teacher. It showed you the patterns you inherited, the stories whispered to you since childhood, that love must be proven, that patience will redeem, neglect, that devotion can cure indifference. You see how those myths shaped your choices, how they led you to confuse endurance with strength. But as the veil lifts, the lesson shifts. Strength isn't staying where love withers, it's knowing when to walk away and still bless what remains. And something miraculous happens when you finally do. The world opens. The same streets you once walked heavy with expectation now shimmer with possibility. You notice music in the ordinary, laughter drifting from a cafe, the pulse of life moving forward regardless of who stayed or left. You feel yourself returning to the person you were before. The waiting began, not the naive version, but the wiser one, tempered by silence and reborn through it. The shadow becomes your ally. The darkness you feared now feels like fertile ground. From it, self-respect grows roots too deep to be shaken by anyone's absence. He might resurface as many do, drawn not by love, but by curiosity, wondering how the woman who once revolved around his attention could now stand so effortlessly in her own light. But you will not need to prove anything. The real victory isn't in making him chase. It's in realizing you no longer crave it. You have become a mirror too, one that reflects not his ego, but his missed evolution. And that reflection, more than any words you could say, will be what he remembers. Because nothing unsettles the human heart like realizing the person who once needed you has learned to thrive without you. So when he wonders if you still think of him, you might smile and think sometimes. But it's no longer longing. It's gratitude. Gratitude for what the silence taught you, that love is not about being chosen, it's about choosing yourself. That peace is not found in someone's return, but in your refusal to abandon who you are. And that the real secret power of absence is that it teaches presence, the art of being with yourself in such fullness that no one's departure can create a void. And so you close this chapter not with anger, but with grace. You thank the silence for its sharp lessons and its soft mercy. You walk forward lighter, carrying not his memory, but your own awakening. Because the woman you have become does not chase love. She attracts it naturally, effortlessly by existing as herself. She no longer begs to be seen. She simply shines. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you of your own quiet strength, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe for more reflections like this. And tell me in the comments, what did the silence in your life teach you? Because sometimes it's in what isn't said that we finally hear the truth.